So parents are always worried about their child's well-being, and they're always worried about, what their child is watching. And a lot of the times in the media today, there are a lot of things that we just don't know what our children are seeing, or we don't know how to keep them from seeing certain things, or how it will impact them. And a lot of questions that come up are, how will the media impact my child's thoughts and the subsequent actions? Um, so I have studied psychology for the past 5 years, and I've studied specifically violent video games many times. And I am always thinking about how, in my own children, how I will watch out for what they see and what is introduced to them through the media. So, violent video games are something that children can play for recreation or relaxation, but they encourage many aggressive behaviors through the rewards of the game. So, more parents need to know about this information, because when they could be more aware of what they're letting their children see and play, then they're able to make a more informed decision about what they allow them to see and play. So, violent video games are a cause for concern, and parents should be more educated on what the issues are, because they do relate to them. So, violent video games cause increased aggression and in thoughts and behavior. In a study done by Nicholas Carnegie and Craig Anderson in 2005, they studied three different groups. One which the group was rewarded for violent behaviors in the video game, another group that the violence was punished in the violent video games, and in the last where there was no reward or punishment by the violent behavior. And when the ones that the violence was rewarded, when the violence was rewarded in these video games, the participants had increased aggressive thoughts and right after the experiment. And so a lot of times we worry about these things, how they will react later in life, especially when sometimes children play hours and hours of these video games. Ever since the Columbine shooting, which was a shooting that happened in the late 90s, where two kids just brought guns to school and shot a lot of people, and it was really sad. There's been a lot of research about increased aggression through violent video games and what it makes people think. According to the American Psychological Association, high levels of video game exposure have been linked to delinquency, including fighting in school and in free play. So a lot of parents say, well, aren't there rating systems on these games, to tell kids what they should and shouldn't buy? And yes, there are rating systems. A lot of parents don't understand the rating systems, or they don't pay much attention to the game rating system as they would to a movie or something like that, because movies, everyone knows R-rated is not appropriate for a child, but not everyone knows, M for mature means children under the age of, is kind of the same as PG-13 type of a movie. And there's, or even worse, sometimes the video game ratings aren't as good as they are as the movie ratings, and even now the movie ratings are kind of going down, in my opinion. So it's really important to watch out what your kids are playing in these video games, not just what they're watching in movies. So there are 10 different states have tried to ban selling video games to minors, particularly, well, not all video games, but violent video games, but this was deemed unconstitutional because of the freedom to expressive freedoms, and this was reported by NBC News in 2010. Violent video games are not only violent, but they're vulgar as well. So I personally have decided to give it a shot, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play some of these video games that are often cited when researchers talk about the violent video games. So I decided to play some for myself. I played some Grand Theft Auto, and in this one, any of them, I think there are 5 or 6 at this point, different types of Grand Theft Auto, and you're mostly beating people up, stealing money, going to strip clubs, and then of course killing people, and you're pretty much an outlaw or a thug that plays in this video game, and you earn money and rewards from the from the violence that you commit in this video game. Grand Theft Auto is one of the most common thought of as far as violent video games go. And video games really they desensitize children to violence, and they think it's okay, just like watching other videos that you might not be specifically interacting with, but watching videos of violence or even in the sexual nature can desensitize you and make you think that's more real life, when it definitely is not. Also, Call of Duty and Halo in these games, particularly when you play with other people online, and also with, and even programmed into the game itself, there are a lot of swear words and a lot of people saying, and even programmed into the video game, there's a lot of cursing. So playing these games, so these video games are not only violent, but they're vulgar as well, which parents try to keep their kids away from. But if parents don't play the video games or know, and the kids are sitting there with their headphones on, it's hard to know what exactly is going on in this game or what the other players might be saying, especially if they play over the Xbox through Xbox Live or anything like that. So overall, violent video games reward aggressive behaviors and increase aggressive thoughts. And parents do have control over what games their children are playing, including the amount of time that their kids are spending playing these games. And it's our responsibility as members of society and as parents to make sure that we're not encouraging increased aggression, and that we're helping children be the best that they can be and to become successful members of society.